Hey everyone, it's Nick. Today we are in a creative world and I wanted to show you something really quite cool. But first of all, we need to light this place up, and the only option we have is this fire pit, and all I've got on me are 2 poisonous potatoes. So these are not going to be helpful. Or are they? Well, you wouldn't be watching NiclasBlocko if I didn't come up with a solution. Whoa, that sounded really narcissistic. Anyway, you just drop the poisonous potato on the ground and the fire turns on. We'll get to that in a moment, but first, let's get inspired. With some greenery and some swampness, sort of. So we have a small house here that consists mainly of cobblestone and cobblestone walls, then some wooden textures and, well, yeah, I guess you can just call them textures. And it's really broad and bulky, I guess, bulky wood, not really soft and smooth textures, but rather the opposite is true. And that's what makes this place so rustic looking. Also the planting, we're using spruce wood here, spruce leaves. You could also use jungle leaves because they have an even rougher texture, I would say, but jungle leaves just don't look great. I'm in a flatland world, just so you know, so everything looks a bit yellowish. But if you built this in a forest or maybe a jungle even, or a mushroom island, you'd have green leaves and green plants. They'd look just phenomenal. But in a desert, I wouldn't recommend building this with jungle leaves. So the first thing you could see is that this turned into dirt, and this right here is grass path, and you can get it by just using some grass, as the name suggests, and then taking a shovel, and then you right click that shovel onto the block of grass, and that will turn it into grass path, which is 1 pixel smaller than a regular block. Now these blocks right here are puzzle, and the combination and variation of these two, not in a pattern but sort of random. I know this isn't random because it was placed by me, but it's somewhat an irregular shape, and that's what you want to go for when you're building something that is overgrown or, well, just looks like this. This has a special charm with it. Now, it is to say that this fire hasn't spread yet, not because I'm lucky, but because I used a game rule, and you can use the same command, which is game rule do fire tick. You have to watch capital letters right here, and then false. You can type that in, and then fire won't spread to anywhere else if you want to use fire in combination with wood, that is. Now, it is not about entirely rebuilding this design, but instead it's about getting inspired. So you have to use, if you want to go for this look, some really rough textures like brick. And what I mean by rough is, if you take a look at cobblestone, let's just get one of those, and another block that I would see as smooth. We can just compare cobblestone and regular stone to see what the difference really is. So if you build a wall using only cobblestone, and then a wall next to it only using stone, you can just see that this has some smoothness because it's not shaded that much as cobblestone clearly is. So this has an entirely different effect. This could be used for something a little more big and broad and maybe some newer or modern build, while this could be a rundown castle as well. So textures do play a big role when designing rooms and spaces like this. And then, of course, you combine that with some natural colors, the puzzle and the wood color, and then also I've got spruce fences right there. And I think I have another type of wood somewhere. Not sure, really. But yeah, all of those colors can be found again in the puzzle right here. And the plants, also the green in the puzzle. So you get a few ground blocks and then build around them. That's also why I've got green clay behind these fence, what are they called? Trapdoors. And yeah, just work with some blocks that you want to use and then build around that. Now around this is a wall consisting of polished diorite and stone slabs, 2 stacked on top of each other. Now this adds some contrast because this is quite dark, I would say. Not particularly because of the stone, but because of the wooden colors, because they're brownish, dark green. You want something to liven up the place a little more. If you want something that looks like this, that is. And if you were to use just diorite, it just wouldn't have the effect, so you need something to break that up. And the perfect block for that was the stone slab, because it has a similar color but still is smooth enough and different enough to add this contrast. Now we'll get to how this fire works, and it's quite simple. Let's go to daytime for that, because then you can see what is going on more clearly. We have a dispenser down here, and in that dispenser are fire charges. You can look up how to craft them on the Minecraft wiki, and then the special property these things have is when you put them in a dispenser that's facing upward into a block of netherrack and then power that dispenser, the fire charge will fly and then ignite this netherrack. Let's take a look at that without the netherrack. The fire charge would just fly and light up anything that it hits, and this way it just goes into the block of netherrack and lights it up. If you didn't know, netherrack burns forever, it never burns out, and it never runs out, so that is a good choice of block to use. Now if you don't have any fire charges around or cannot craft them, you can also use some flint and steel. Just take some iron and some flint, and then you can place it next to a block of netherrack. So just like this, you cannot put it up like this, put the flint and steel down there, that wouldn't work. But like this, it does work, and maybe you can fiddle around with it a little more, and then you will have a fireplace that works like that also. But I like this design because it's hidden and concealed under the ground, and I dropped the item on the ground to light up this fire. I didn't use a button, and that is also quite simply done. We just have a block up there, then a minecart with a hopper. So this acts somewhat as a vacuum. So the item is sucked from the top of the block into this minecart, and then the minecart is unloaded onto a hopper and then goes into a chest. So what happens is there's an item in here, it travels through the hopper into the chest, and then there's a comparator which checks if there's an item in the hopper, and of course when it passes through there is, and then gives off a small redstone pulse which we lengthen or strengthen using this repeater, and then we just make it go right into the dispenser right here. So it's really quite simple. We can check that out. Watch this comparator down here. See, it goes on for a short moment because the item just traveled through into the chest. Now you cannot place a block on here because hoppers will only put items into chests that are able to be opened, and you wouldn't be able to open the chest like this because there's a block on top. So make sure you have that, and then you should be good to go with your blocks. That is pretty much it about this design. I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Subscribe for more and check out the 2 videos right here. Bye bye.